Hello my friends, today we are talking about the Sony A7 IV, probably the best hybrid camera on the market right now. I had this camera now for about 3 months. I played with it a lot and I customized the menu to work for my style of shooting. Today I am going to show you exactly how I set it for photography. We'll go through the menu and we'll see what we changed, what we kept, and how it goes. I know the menu is something that people are struggling with in Sony cameras, so this is what we're gonna do today. We will start at the very beginning, which is my favorites, my menu, and I added format in there so that way when I need to format my card, I can just quickly find it and I don't have to go through the whole menu. Then we'll go into the image quality, and for image quality, if you go to image quality setting, you will see I shoot in RAW. That's what I chose in there. File type, I shoot lossless compressed. This is kind of like a middle of the road when it comes to compression. If you choose uncompressed, you'll get a little bit better quality, less compressed file. And compressed will be a lower quality, more compressed file. I chose lossless compressed because the file is a little bit more manageable and I can shoot at a higher frame rate. So for birding, I do not want to go to uncompressed because the files will be bigger, it will take longer to write on the card, and I will get less frame rates per second. Then aspect ratio, I'll keep it 3:2. Let's see, we'll go down. Color space, I will stay with the sRGB. And less compensation, I have it on auto, everything on auto, shading, chromatic aberration, and distortion compensation. This feature comes very handy when you do focus stacking because you will need to focus on something in front, then more be a little bit further and further. And a lot of lenses, especially G master lenses from Sony, will have some focus breathing and you'll get that zoom effect, and this will take care of that. Let's move into what is the next thing? File folder setting. In the file folder setting, I changed the set file name. I put a custom name. If you see, I put it A41. That's why I know when I look at my files in Lightroom, I know which photos came from which camera. This is especially handy if you have more of one camera or more than one of the same camera, like I have two 7R4s, and this will just help with that. Next, we're moving to, let's see what else I changed. Write serial number, yes. Copyright information, this is where I put in copyright info on. Set photographer, I put my name in there. And then set copyright, I put my email in there. And the reason why I set all this stuff is because if you ever had your photos stolen or used without your permission on the internet, then this information will be embedded into the file and you can prove that those are your photos. Let's move on into, let's see, what else I change. Drive mode, I keep it in continuous shooting. Shutter type, I keep it on mechanical shutter. And then when I shoot silently, which you can do with this camera, then automatically it will go into electronic shutter. I use mechanical shutter because I do use a lot of studio work and I use flash. Release without lens, I enable it. Release without card, I enable it. Image stabilization, you want to have steady shot on. Shooting display, I want to have a grid line on, and the grid line type, I have it rule of thirds. This helped me a lot when I choose my composition on the field. I want to see where my rule of thirds intersects, and it just helps when you're there to make a better composition. Live view display, this is a function, I have it on right now. When you have it on, then the exposure, you will see it into your viewfinder or your LCD, and that would help you to expose properly. If you're shooting with flash in the studio, then you will want to turn it off. If you have it to off, then it will not represent your exposure and your LCD and viewfinder will be brighter so you can see your composition. And I use that a lot with flash, it's very handy. You want to turn it off when you work with flash. So I'm gonna demonstrate over here. Here I have a little figurine and the exposure is set to on. So you see if I increase or decrease my exposure, it will represent into the viewfinder. Now if I go into the menu and turn this to off, then it will not change as I move shutter speed or exposure. It will stay the same, and this is very handy when you shoot with flash. You want to be able to see what you're doing. I'm gonna move it back to on. Metering, I choose metering mode multi. Custom white balance, I have it set to custom 3. This is where I do, prior to every shoot, I take a custom white balance, and that's why I have set it this way. The only time I do the white balance in auto is when I shoot landscapes or birding, like wildlife. Other than that, I always take a custom white balance, and this is what I did last time, so that's why it's set to custom 3. Color tone, here I have it to creative look standard. And that seems to be the most neutral one, and that's why I like it. Picture profile, I have it off. By the way, creative look on picture profile will only affect the JPEG, and because I shoot RAW, that does not affect my image. It only affects the preview JPEG that is in the back of your camera. Zebra level, zebra display, I have it on, and the level to custom 1, which I set it at 108. And that for me seems to be pretty accurate. When I see blinking lights, that means I am blowing out the highlights. And that's the number I chose, 108. Picking display, this is where you can see the color where you're on focus, when you are on manual mode only. And I chose picking display on, picking level mid, like medium, and color blue. Moving on, I'll leave everything the same here. All stays the same until we get to the yellow briefcase. And here we have a few different things that I'm customizing. Now we're on the custom key set dial, and I'm going to show you in this camera you can pretty much customize every button and dial, and I'm going to show you how I customize mine. On the back of the camera over here we have number 1, regular autofocus area plus autofocus on. Let's move on to the second button, which is autofocus on. And that is because I am using back button focus. If you do not want to use back button focus, do not set this on. Mine is this AF on over here. This is the button that I will hold it down with my thumb and I acquire focus, and then I'll use my shutter button just to take the picture. For the third button, I have set it to white balance. So that means when I push this button over here, this is the C1, I can go right into my shortcut of the white balance and I can take my custom white balance, or I can go to with auto or whatever you want. Then for number 4, which is the button of the C3 over here, this is for aperture, drive, and autofocus. And what do I mean by that? This is one that people are confused about it. When you first get your camera, the camera is set an aperture drive standard. But then you can also use a focus priority, which I use a lot when I do macro photography and you do not have a lot of light and the camera is struggling to focus. And you can use that for anything really. If you see the light is not good and your camera cannot focus very well, then go on and change your aperture drive into focus priority. And what that means is prior to taking a photo, your camera aperture will open up with a large opening, so it lets in a lot of light and it can focus. And then when you take the picture, it will close to the aperture you chose, the f11 or 16 or whatever you chose. And that helps a lot with focusing on not so great light. The only problem you have by choosing focus priority, which is a downside to it, is that you won't be able to see your depth of field preview. And you can customize another button to see that, or just work without that. But it's very, very useful when your camera cannot focus in low light situations. Let's move on through the menu. The button number 5, I have it set up on face, eye, subject, select. And that is this trash can button over here. And what does it mean? Well, it means that when I choose my trash can, I can choose the face, eye, subject between animal, bird, and human. And that's just a quick shortcut, so I can quickly change it as I'm taking pictures. For the rear tool, for 1, I have recall custom hold 1. For button number 2, which is the center of your dial over here, when I press that, I have focus standard. What does focus standard means? Well, it means that if I am shooting with a small, with a small spot like this, and let's see, my spot is somewhere in the corner, but I want to bring it quickly to the middle, I just push that button and it goes to the middle. What else? Finder monitor select, number 3. I have set it up so I do not see a preview of my photos in the back LCD, and my back LCD stays off the whole time. I am just looking to the viewfinder, but if I want to quickly change it, I will just push that one button and it will move from the back screen to the viewfinder. So I can quickly toggle between that. Let's move on. ISO. So the right side of my wheel over here, I have it set to ISO, so I can quickly change ISO, and by just clicking on it, I access the ISO menu, and this is where I can quickly change it. Next button on the rear tool, it is focus magnifier. What does that mean? Well, let's go back to my subject over here, and focus magnifier only works where you are on manual focus. So we're gonna go to manual focus. And now when I push this bottom part of the wheel, I push that and I get the magnifier. And now I'll just push the center of the wheel. And you see, I am magnifying. And push it again, it magnifies it even more. I push one more time and it goes back to where it started. For the top, these 2 buttons over here, when I'm in photography, I have it to switch focus area and focus area. What does that mean? Well, if I click this red one, which is the record button, I can switch and toggle between all my zones, my focus area. And then the C2, when I press it down, I can quickly toggle through them and here on the list. They kind of do the same thing. I just didn't really feel like customizing anything in there. Let's move on, and now we're moving to the lens, and I have it set up. If you have a lens that has a button on the side, I set it up to be manual focus. I use that a lot in wildlife with my long 200 to 600 millimeter. If a bird is like hidden like inside some branches and stuff, I have stuff in the front and I cannot focus on it, I will just hold down the button and it quickly goes into manual focus, and then I can manual focus on the bird. As for the dial wheels, I left them just the way they came with the camera. I have not changed everything. I like the way that is set up, so that is all the setting for that. FN menu, this is the quick menu where you can access all your most used functions, and this is the way I have set up my for photos and videos. Different setting for still and movies. I put everything in here. I checked out everything. I want all my settings to be completely different from photos to movies, because usually they are when you take videos. Find the frame rate. I have it on high. That's because I do a lot of birding and I want to see my subject as it goes. I do not want to have any blackouts or, fall behind. And it uses a little bit more battery, but it's worth it in my opinion. Auto review, it is off. Auto monitor off. I have it set to does not turned off. And power save start time 1 minute. Auto power off temperature, I have it set to high. That does not affect you for photography. That is just for videos. It seems to indicate that it's overheating even though it is not. When you get a camera, it is set to standard, but if you change it to high, then it will not show the overheat. I hope this was helpful and you got your camera set up the way you like it and the way you use it. When I first set up my cameras a few years back when I switched to Sony, I remember I found somebody on YouTube and I copied their settings. And then I used that for a while, and with time I discovered that maybe I used the camera a little bit different than that person did, and I just changed it to fit my style of shooting. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe and push that notification button so you will not miss future videos. My name is Skyler Ewing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.